Hello everyone. This is a PowerPoint presentation on reinforcement schedules. I will be talking you through the lesson. Please feel free at any time to hit the pause button on the video or to rewind if you need something repeated. I thank you in advance for listening and taking your time to view this episode. We will begin with our learning objectives as you see them listed here. Learning Objective 1 states that class members will learn about reinforcement schedules regarding behavior, including the difference between positive and negative reinforcement, and discuss these concepts as it relates to their own work environments. Learning Objective 2 states that class members will answer several questions about the topic at hand and give examples of how this applies to their own real-life experiences. First, let's define reinforcement schedules. As you see here, a reinforcement schedule is essentially a plan determining which behaviors will be strengthened. In this case, either a positive or negative reinforcement can be put into place for any specific situation. One type of reinforcement is a positive reinforcement. This is where you add something to the situation to strengthen a behavior. I have a plus symbol here, or a positive symbol if that's the way you would like to view it. Hopefully this will help you remember that we are adding something to the situation. And again, reinforcement, if you think about it, means to strengthen, to reinforce something. So positive reinforcement is when you add, hence the positive, and strengthen, referring to the reinforcement. Here I list two examples for positive reinforcement. The first one is when an elementary student earns a 4.0 grade point average. The school places him on the honor roll and he is invited to participate in a pizza party. What we are adding is the honor roll placement and the pizza party. And what we are trying to strengthen is that 4.0 grade point average. We are trying to encourage him to continue that academic achievement. That is, the first example is more of a elementary school setting. The second example is more an adult career situation. Here is a real estate agent that sells a certain number of houses. She gets a bonus from the company in appreciation for her accomplishments. So again, we are adding that money to the situation, or the bonus, and we are trying to strengthen the behavior of her selling a large amount of real estate. Again, two different examples, one for a younger child, one for an adult person, but still examples of positive reinforcement. Take a few seconds here to think about a positive reinforcement either that you have given or witnessed or maybe even received through your own personal experiences. So next we have negative reinforcement. The definition here is where you take something away from the situation to strengthen a behavior. Notice that the negative, as opposed to the positive, there's the subtraction symbol, the minus sign, or a negative symbol. We are taking something away. However, the reinforcement is still there. So we are taking something away, but we are still trying to strengthen a behavior. Again, I have two examples listed. The first one says when you lay out your clothes and you pack your lunch and you take a shower all at nighttime, you are avoiding being late for work the next day. So you are taking away all of those things from your morning routine in order to strengthen the behavior of getting to work on time or before work starts. I'm sure we can all relate to this. We've all done it before. If you leave everything, go to the morning, chances are you're going to be running short on time. But if you take all of those things away from your morning routine, then that gives you some more time to get to work. The second example is when your car continually beeps when you leave your keys in the ignition and you open the driver's side door. So this situation is where the beeping is taking away your likelihood that you're going to leave the keys in the car. Because if you leave the keys in the car and you get out and you shut the door, then the keys are locked inside, and that is not a good situation. So again, the beeping helps you to remove the possibility or take away the possibility that you will leave your keys in the car. Again, take a few seconds to think about some sort of negative reinforcement that has happened to you. Next, we want to look at the difference between negative reinforcement and punishment. These are not the same thing. On the left is, again, the definition of negative reinforcement, where you take something away from a situation to strengthen a behavior. Punishment is not the same thing. The definition is there on the right. A punishment is where you add or take away something from the situation to weaken a behavior. So, an example of punishment that comes to my mind is if you did have a son or a daughter at home, and let's just say they brought home an F on their science test and you are not happy. If you want to add something, I suppose you could add something to their weekly chore list, like taking out the garbage or washing dishes or cutting the lawn, and you are adding that to their daily, weekly routine, to weaken the behavior that they will again get a bad grade on a test. Same situation, but taking something away. They bring home the test, it has an F on it, and you say, okay, I am taking away your privileges to watch television for the whole entire week or the whole entire month until the next science test comes out and you can use that time to study. So you are taking away television in order to weaken the behavior that an F will continue for the test grade. Again, think for a moment just about the difference between negative reinforcement and punishment, and an example that you have encountered yourself. Types of reinforcement schedules are continuous or intermittent. The first one, continuous, is, for example, you see it listed there, a child gets a sticker every time he brushes his teeth. So it's continuous, every time. He brushes his teeth, he gets a sticker. He brushes his teeth, he gets a sticker. It's a continuous reinforcement. Next, there are several intermittent reinforcement schedules. First listed there is fixed ratio schedule or variable ratio schedule, and there's an example listed underneath for each one. Fixed ratio schedule is, an example is for every 5 times a student completes a discussion board post, she receives 10 points. So it's not every time, it's not continuous, but there is a fixed amount of time, or I'm sorry, a fixed amount that when she does do the 5 times, she gets points for that. The variable ratio schedule is, an example of that is buying a scratch off and win lottery ticket. You could scratch it off the first time and win $5, but you could scratch it off the second time and win nothing. It might take you another 10 times before you win something, and then it might take you another 50 times before you win something, so that it varies. You're not sure when that reinforcement is coming. Next, we have fixed interval schedule and variable interval schedule. An example for fixed interval is every 2 weeks an employee receives his paycheck from work. So it's fixed, he's getting that dollar amount, and the interval is 2 weeks. An example for variable interval schedule is getting a walkthrough or an informal observation from the principal. Those of you that are not familiar with walkthroughs, That is just where a principal would walk into a teacher's room, maybe for 5 minutes or so, just to make sure the teacher and the children are on task. And unfortunately, though, you don't know when those are coming. It could be, the first couple weeks of school, and then it may not occur until the next month, and then it's a variable interval of time. Okay, so these are the resources I used to put together this PowerPoint presentation. If you would like to further look at those two sites to help you more with the learning of reinforcement schedules and all that it entails. And here we have a quick assessment. So number one, if you want to jot these down, or we're just going to go over the answers here as soon as we discuss it. Number one says negative reinforcement is another term for punishment. True or false? And the answer there is false. Negative reinforcement is not the same thing as punishment, if you remember that from the slide. So the answer for number one is false. Remember that negative reinforcement is taking something away to strengthen a behavior, and punishment is adding or taking away, but we are trying to weaken the behavior. Number two, a reinforcement schedule is designed to blank a certain behavior. Is it A, weaken, B, stop, C, strengthen, or D, create? And the answer for number two is C, strengthen. A reinforcement schedule is designed to strengthen a certain behavior. Remember, if you're reinforcing something, you are strengthening it. Number three, a type of reinforcement schedule investigated by theorists would be A, continuous reinforcement schedule, B, fixed ratio schedule, C, fixed interval schedule, D, all of the above, or E, none of the above. And the answer there is D, all of the above. There were a couple others that we talked about, but A, B, and C were all different types of reinforcement schedules. And the last one, number four, if you want to jot this down or if you just want to think about it, give an example of a positive reinforcement that you have witnessed or implemented in your work, school, or home life. If you are watching this video with somebody, or there is someone there that's listening, maybe you could discuss it with them for a moment. And here are all the answers for the assessment. 1 was false, 2 was C, strengthen, 3 was D, all of the above, and 4, hopefully, you had an example of that written down, or you got a chance to discuss it with another person there. Well, that is all for this presentation. I thank you for listening, and hopefully this helped clarify the concept of reinforcement schedules and all that it entails. Thank you.